Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Caleb Matthews. And I'm so happy that he said yes to our interview. How are you doing today?
I'm so good, Caroline. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fantastic because I get to know something more about you. And of course, we have questions. So I would like to introduce you to the audience first. And our today's guest brings a fascinating framework for understanding purpose through what he calls the SSB method: spirit, soul, and body. After more than 20 years of speaking across cultures and interpreting thousands of dreams, you help people decode the patterns in their lives, in people's life, to discover the unique design they were created to live. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast. Wow, Caleb Matthews.
Oh, what a
This is
fantastic
you.
introduction. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to dive into some of these awesome topics with you today. It's going to be a good show.
You're so welcome. And my first question is: you've developed the SSB method, spirit, soul, and body, as a framework to decode purpose. Before we explore it in depth, could you briefly explain what each of these three dimensions represents and why they must work together?
Sure. Each of these dimensions represents one of the three parts of our human construct. So, S for spirit, we have a human spirit. S for soul, our mind, will, and emotions, and our body, the construct that carries it all. And the thing is, in our culture, especially in the West, I'm not saying the East is perfect, but we're taught to focus on our soul, our mind, will, and emotions, and what's in our physical strength, our body. But the spirit is oftentimes put on the shelf to, oh, I'll get to it later, or I can talk to God whenever I want, or I can just connect with my spirituality when it's convenient for me. But all three of these really need to be part of our individual design, because when we align spirit, soul, and body, all three, we can walk in a deeper purpose and an alignment with our individual destiny.
Wow, I absolutely love it. Especially how you explained the soul part. You said will, emotions, and mind, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Wow.
That's it.
Yes. Okay. So I prepared something funny. So let's make this practical for our listeners. Imagine I'm someone coming to you for the first time, trying to understand my purpose. If I told you I have built businesses, I host conversations with entrepreneurs and thinkers, and I feel driven by a deeper search for meaning and truth, how would you start analyzing that through the spirit, soul, and body framework? What would you look at or for first?
Well, I would dive into some of the clues that you even gave me there right now with the way that your design type is built, which is, from what I can understand there from the data you gave me, as a builder. Because there are 7 design types, which, by the way, side plug for my DNA of Design quiz. I have a free quiz on my website, which will be available after this podcast interview, of course, with Caroline, and it's free. It takes less than 5 minutes. But Caroline, what you've given to me there would describe a builder, somebody who builds systems and frameworks and builds a place for others to be able to discover more about themselves. So the first thing I would say is that, okay, this is a builder design type that I can now approach from that perspective and start to engage in my questioning and dive deep into those elements. Another of those elements that we go deep after we discover what the design type is we go back into what's called the I principle, which stands for the early years of entrepreneurship, of innovation. Now, when I'm speaking with my clients and individuals, using this as a practical example, fun example, I would say, okay, tell me some things about your childhood. It can be positive or negative, some building moments that you can remember, or maybe a moment where you tried to build something and maybe it was discouraged from you building that part of your design as a builder that you want to build. When we go after those elements, then we can just start to discover more about what these C links, what these links in our lives from our past, our present, of course, and our future are speaking to us.
Wow, so that means I wanted to build something and someone prevented me to do so, and then I have this blockage for all
Yeah,
my life.
yeah, like if there's an example, say, just using an example here, where maybe you tried to build something as a child, and maybe all the neighbors that were around you, or the kids or the children in the neighborhood, saw that you were talented, but they discouraged you from building. And you had to go through that resistance as a child of overcoming the peer pressure to, oh, just Carolyn, she's just a builder. Don't pay any attention to her creativity. And you were actually battling that in your developmental years of trying to use your gift where it was discouraged. Or and another flip side is that maybe you were a builder that somebody people look to. It could be both, where starting at a young age in your teenage years and even as an adult, you built things and everything that you touched turned to a prosperous way for people, and it was just built into you as a young person in a positive way. So we use these data elements as keys, as clues for, okay, this looks like a builder design prototype. How is this speaking about Caroline's purpose? What is this a picture of? How is this speaking?
Wow, I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for sharing. Also, when you talk about design and the keys, because we all hold the keys in our hands. And what are keys doing? They lock. No, what is the opposite? They open doors. Yeah, but both
That's right.
ways, of course. Yeah.
Open and close. It's
Oh my
right.
goodness.
Yeah, it's true. The keys open
Mhm.
and they close. And as builders or seers or activators or catalysts or navigators, whatever design type we are, we have clues to see what is going to work for us and what won't work for us. And it's okay too, because we all have our own individual design type, and we all need everybody else in collaboration. I need Caroline. Caroline needs parts of what I have to offer. I need what part of your audience has. We all need each other. And no person, no man, no woman is an island unto ourselves. And that's the great thing about our gift. It can open doors and close them. There are doors that are meant for us and doors that are not meant for us.
Wow, so beautiful. I have to rethink about it after we stop the recording. But I have, of course, another question for you. If we take this example further, what kind of signals or patterns would you examine in my life story to understand my design? For instance, the decisions I've made, we talked about these choices, the name of the podcast, the inspired choice, the environments I'm drawn to, the themes that repeat in my work. How would your method interpret those clues?
I would ask the question and throw it back into your table of, are there specific clues that are repetitive within a season? Is it something that you've seen maybe just within nature a few times and that was it? Or perhaps a business opportunity that came and passed and it never came back again? Or are part of these elements continually knocking, trying to get your attention in different forms? Is there a repetitive knock? Because just to use a practical example, if someone's standing at your door, someone's standing at my door, and they're continually knocking, they're waiting for the door to open. That opportunity is now. It's presently now. If someone knocks once, they leave a package and they walk away, well, that's an opportunity that will probably happen at some point in the future. But if somebody is completely knocking over and over and over again, trying to get our attention, then there's something to be said about that. So what I would push back onto your table is, Caroline, are these elements that you're speaking of, are they repeating consistently in a short time period, or is it at a longer stretch of time? And time will determine the factor as to what our tactical approach is, whether it's now, whether it's building for the future. Some of those elements have to do with the issue of time.
Wow, I understand, and I love the topic of time. When I go back to the example, and I thought about what you were saying to my previous question about building something and then seeing the reaction of other people. When I imagine I built something or I had a talent, and people wanted to see me on stage, and they said, Caroline, you are so talented, you have to be on stage and show your gifts or share it with the world. And when my cycle or my cycle is that every time I'm on stage, I am so afraid that I quit. And this is my
Mm,
pattern that repeats. What would you
mm,
say?
mm. So I would say in that moment, it's good to step back. And I encourage your audience, as you're listening to this podcast, whenever you listen to it, audience, step back from these moments and take a census of your senses. Now, what I mean by that is we have five senses. We have our sight, our hearing, our tasting, our smelling, our touching. And those are physical senses. We also have spiritual senses as well. We're getting back into the spirit, soul, and body. You know, that gut feeling you have when you step into a room, you're like, oh, this place feels safe. Or, oh, there's some people here that are, judging me or watching me, and I have to be aware of what I'm doing. Or you're Carolyn, you're stepping on a stage, and you're like, you get to that moment, and you're like, oh, the fear is coming right now. Is this fear something that's within myself? Is it something coming from the audience? Is it something coming from the environment that's trying to push back on what I have to offer? Or is this something that I have to personally overcome myself with my connection with my spirit, ultimately governing my soul? I want to use an example from the Bible, and I love the Bible. And David, one of the most famous people in Scripture, he talks to himself, his soul actually, in the Psalm. It says, "Why are you downcast, O my soul?" Now, who's talking? It's his spirit talking to his soul. So we are supposed to govern our soul. So I would say to you, Carolyn, in that moment, take a step back and analyze, take a census of your senses, and ask yourself this question: is this my own fear? Is this somebody else's projection of fear of what I could bring? Is this the environment that is trying to resist me? Is this an opportunity that I shouldn't take? Or is this an opportunity should I take and push through that construct of peer pressure? There's a lot of different elements going on there. It's fascinating.
Oh, these are fantastic questions. Thank you so much. So that means the pattern we experience are not necessarily from our own.
Yeah, not necessarily all the time could be from our own. It could be from the environment. It could be from some spiritual resistance as well. Like to use an example from my own life as well. Sometimes there are just elements that happen that are beyond our control. We're trying to do something normal that's a pushback, and there's something deeper going on behind the surface. Like I like playing pickleball. I love playing pickleball. It's one of my favorite sports to play. And I just am passionate. I'm very much somebody who challenges myself to be competitive, but in a healthy way. And sometimes, for whatever reason, if I go into a new environment, there are some people who love that, want to play with me, and there are some people who don't even know me, who are intimidated by me, who want to push back against me, and that's more of a reflection of themselves than a reflection of what I'm doing. And that's why I say for our audience and for yourself, Carolyn, for all of us, for myself included, we have to take a census of our senses and see, okay, is this me? Is this somebody else's energy? Or is this God trying to speak to me saying, maybe you should focus on this or focus on that? There's a lot of different ways it could go, but it's fascinating for sure.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. So I learned already so much in this episode. I have to re-listen to it again, of course. My next question for you. Many people listening might feel that their lives are full of scattered experiences that don't seem connected. If someone wanted to start decoding their design today, what are the first three questions they should ask themselves using the SSB method?
The first question is, who am I feeding more, my spirit or my soul? And I use the story of the two dogs, the black dog and the white dog. Now, if the black dog represents your soul and the white dog represents your spirit, and we feed the black dog, we feed the soul more than we feed the spirit, well, what's going to happen to the white dog? Eventually, the white dog is going to be malnourished, the spirit is going to be quenched, and our soul is going to dominate. Now, the other way around, if we feed our spirit too much and we don't feed our soul, well, our spirit is supposed to govern our soul, but at the end of the day, we still have to have our own mind, will, and emotions. We have to be in partnership with the spirit that's put within us by God. So there needs to be an equal balance, but I would say we need to lean towards the spirit governing the soul. So first question is, what are you feeding more, your spirit or your soul? Make sure your spirit is governing your soul, not the other way around. Second question is, ask yourself about these elements, maybe these disconnected pieces you're thinking of, okay, how can these be connected? Ask this question: what is this a picture of? What is this trying to communicate to me? And when you look at life as a riddle to be decoded, like an encryption, like one of my favorite examples from history. I'm just going to use this. I love history. I'm a student of history. One of my favorite subjects in school is history. And Alan Turing and his brilliant mathematicians, made famous especially recently by the movie The Imitation Game, great movie, but they were code breakers and they broke Enigma, the Nazi code that if it wasn't broken, it would have cost millions of more lives and the war would have lasted another 2 or 4 years. But they broke the code because they focused on, okay, what is this, the picture behind the picture? What is this code behind the code? And I encourage you as the audience to ask yourself that question when you're thinking about that spirit, soul, and body framework of walking in your human design. What are these links a picture of? So those are the two things. What are you feeding more, your soul or your spirit? Second question, what is this a picture of? And third, how am I taking steps today to be able to be aware of that?
So beautiful. Thank you so much. Now I have to think. So, yeah, I have to think about it, of course, and answer the questions for myself. And I encourage the listeners, of course. So, my next question is because you mentioned already your quiz, right? Where can people find you when they want to reach out to you after listening to this episode?
Sure. CalebMatthews.net. That's my website with the C link, CalebMatthews.net. And right in the top right corner of the website, when you go there, is a big golden button called Take the DNA of Design quiz. So the DNA of Design quiz is right there on the top, and it takes 5 minutes. It shouldn't take you more than that. 10 questions. It's free, and you get to discover which of your 7 design types are you a seer? Are you an activator? Are you a navigator? Are you a catalyst? Are you a builder? Are you a steward? Are you a healer? Are you one of these elements and these design types? And when you discover your design type, then you can start to take next steps of how to approach if you've never thought about this, or maybe you have thought about this, and it's just a refresher of how to look at your life within that context of knowing your design type and how you interact with the world. That's where you can find the DNA of Design quiz, which I highly recommend anybody listening to this to take. If you don't know what a design type is, you'll find out right at the end of it.
Oh, I would love that. Of course, I'll check it out. I put the links in the show notes, of course. Yes, and we have another question for you because it's so interesting. If you sit across the table from someone who is completely lost about their purpose and only had 1 minute to guide them in the right direction, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to step back and block out the noise around them and to really hone in and ask themselves these two questions. Why am I here? And what is my purpose that gets me up in the morning? And really think about it. And don't allow other noises or other frequencies to get in the way. Just clear everything out and just make it simple and guide that individual to think like a child and not make it too complicated, because we do make it too complicated. As adults, we're told to grow up as fast as we can. And there's a part of the adult element, if we jump too far and too deep and too quickly into growing up, we can forget the inner child. And no matter what age we are, we need to look at life through that lens and to make it simple, because I think we overcomplicate it. And this is something I've noticed in my dream interpretation analysis work with my teams and traveling and speaking. Even with dreams, I say, do you dream? They're like, no, I don't dream. Well, I'm like, okay, do you even dream like short dreams, or have you dreamed like years ago? And then they say they do, but it's because their mind has disqualified themselves of, oh, well, short dream can't be a dream, or, oh, I haven't dreamed in years, that means I'm not a dreamer. No, that doesn't mean that. So, answer your question. If I have 1 minute with somebody, I would say, think like a child, ask yourselves these two questions and block out the noise. Why am I here? And what is my purpose? And look for the answer that isn't something that outer noise is trying to convince you is the right answer.
Thank you so much. This is like an exercise we can do in silence, sitting in the quiet and asking ourselves these questions, and the answers will come. And I just had an idea. I would love to do another podcast episode just only about dreams because we don't have time for that. And I would tell you in that episode about the one dream that always comes back to me. And I just realized, like 1 year ago or so, that it's always the same dream. And I would like you to interpret it. I have one last question for you before we stop this recording? Yeah, of course. If you could go back to a younger version of yourself, at the moment when an important decision shaped the course of your life, and you were allowed to whisper one sentence of guidance into your own ear, what would you say?
It's going to be worth it no matter what the cost, because that is something that is a peer pressure, a voice, the other voice, the negative voice that whispers in your ear that when you make a pivotal decision, that, oh well, what are other people going to think, or is this going to be worth it, or you're selling yourself short by making this decision, you should just stay comfortable. But I would whisper into the ear of that younger version of myself, it is going to be worth it no matter what the cost.
That's so true. Thank you so much. I'm inspired now. Now it's time for your final thoughts to the audience, please.
For sure. Thank you, Carolyn. And to the audience, my final thoughts is pursue your design and the armor that you have that's customized to you. Don't put on somebody else's armor full time. We can learn from each other. You can learn from me. You can learn from Caroline. You can learn from each other. But don't try to be Caleb. Don't try to be Caroline completely, because there's only one of you in the earth. Only one of you that's exactly made down to the 100% degree at a cellular level, DNA speaking, and also your spiritual DNA. There's only one of you that ever has been, ever is, and ever will be. And my final thoughts I want to say to you as well. I want to say a declaration to you as well, because I believe in the power of the positive spoken word. And that is, if you are listening to this podcast, you are looking at this video podcast, watching and listening to me and Caroline, I declare to you as the audience, whether you're listening from Germany, Portugal, Europe, Asia, Africa, South America, North America, Australia, New Zealand, Antarctica, Greenland, wherever you're visiting and listening from, you will, you not might, not could, but you will reach the purpose to which you've been created on the earth by God. You will reach that purpose, no matter what the opposition, no matter what the peer pressure, you will reach it, because your design needs to come forth in the earth. So I declare to you, if no one has ever said this to you, I welcome your design type into the earth. What you have, the treasure that you have inside of you, needs to be heard by nations, by peoples, and by individuals that need the keys that are going to unlock their destiny because of your key that you carry within the DNA of your design. Those are my closing thoughts. But thank you, Caroline, so much for having me on your show. And I can already look forward to next time. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was my pleasure and my honor as well. And of course, I see you in the next episode.